One more item. This will be Midland Road Estates. Preliminary plat. Hope Consulting requesting preliminary plat approval, and they're asking for approval of a modification from code to not build a collector designated road as shown on the master street plan.
Yeah.
So this is 182 lots. This would annex into the city, so it borders the city on its far eastern point. So they would eventually come in by the final plat of these lots. Would come into the city, and the plat itself does come recommended. Probably the largest outstanding issue is the transportation plan. So it calls for a collector to go through there, and that collector connects two of the major corridors in North Bryant. So eventually that collector would connect the Midland corridor over to the, Colton's got it there, sort of the heart of Bryant, Hilldale corridor. And
zoom in a little bit.
A portion of this is...
About this collector?
Yes, sir. So that's the property there just to the north of it.
But even if they built the road, it would not connect because they don't have the land.
I think there's 3 parcels between us and
John, get up and go up speaker.
I'm sorry. I think there's 3 parcels here that are not owned by our developer. This one, all separate parties. And this, I think, is private. This is not, this looks like a driveway here.
It says private on a sign there.
Okay, and so I think you're 4 parcels away from actually where public access is. And, you know, I think when planning and city council probably painted this broad stroke, it makes a lot of sense. You know, think about the parkway and how it gets people from one part of town to another. I mean, that really works well. In this case, we're trying to put a collector street throughout the middle of a neighborhood with 60 driveways on it. And I just don't think that works. I don't think that's going to function the way, you know, planning and city council and the people that made this plan. I mean, if the city was to have acquired that 70 feet and built a road there, that connection, I think, would make a lot of sense. They're trying to incorporate into everyone's front yard this big thoroughfare, which dispenses out into a pretty terrible road. And I just don't think that works in this situation.
What's the plat look like right there?
And we're connecting to Willow. So we have a connection to Willow, but I'm not sure.
Willow's so narrow, I had to pull I had to pull in the ditch when a car passed me.
Right, I mean, it's extremely narrow. So I hope that will simply serve primarily as a emergency access back there.
Where's Willow located on this plat?
Upper left.
Top left.
So what's the difference in width on a collector and you're proposing local?
It's just 10 feet, so it's 5 feet on each side of the road. So it's not a substantial difference, and I think we had talked about dedicating, I think Truett mentioned dedicating the right-of-way, not building the road, I think was going to be acceptable to staff. You know, but on the east side of Midland, that also was a collector previously on the master street plan. When the walk-bike drive was approved, if you just scroll just to the east, that creek side was also a collector, and that was removed by planning and city council previously.
It's now local.
It's now local, which is
that got downgraded because of the lack of connection down to Highway 5. Originally, that road was supposed to connect down to Highway 5, and then not that long ago, developer was looking at it, just it was determined that getting across that creek basin there would make that a lot of that was supposed to develop down there and didn't because of.
Well, they changed the floodplain after he bought the development. It increased by double, and it all became wetlands versus just floodplain.
It all of a sudden became much more difficult. So all of a sudden you didn't have to flow through there, which you would have had in other cases, like this case, collecting 2 arterials to the city. And, you know, just being in the position I'm in, one of the things that I hear the most is moving east and west in this town, not using Highway 5 and I-30. And when the plan was developed, that was what was taken into consideration, is how can we better move east and west? And that's one of the things that this road accomplishes here.
Looks like a key component to that.
Can you put your plat back up?
But where we have it now, it goes into the subdivision. Is that what I'm understanding?
Well, it doesn't, it just kills it right now.
Yeah, it goes over into a subdivision that then continues on through there. But if you don't do this part of it, you can never even think about doing the rest of it.
Right.
Because I know we've had to make changes due to decisions.
So Jonathan, is there a way to put, without losing a lot, in the southwest corner,
Put the plat back up there.
60-foot road right of way? Or, I mean, it looks like you lose a lot.
We talked, and I called Jonathan about this, about losing that lot right there, so that someday this road could connect into here. And as far as that designation.
But I mean, is there a way, some of those lots look wider, is there a way to not lose the lot, and make a few of them smaller,
Well, I think you're on to something there.
even if you got a variance for one of them?
I would. So, speaking of, so, another thing that, this development's kind of on the brink of falling apart because of money anyway. They're supposed to close this week and it's not looking good. Everything's just gotten ridiculously expensive. I like this idea, so we're trying to come up with ideas to make this work. You know, something like that makes sense. I mean, I think losing that one lot, one of the things we thought of to try to save money is like in Roman Heights and Dawson's Point and Johnswood Village, they had a slightly different cross section of the 26-foot back of curb to back of curb versus 28. You know, I talked to Truett and Colton about that today. That's something that I think that we need to propose on this one. We had to talk about it at DRC, so we had to go back there to get approved. But and then also, yeah, I'll just leave it there. But you know, I think if we could do the 26-foot back of curb to back of curb, which is an acceptable street cross section, it's just not the first one we presented. Then if you guys could approve that along with the plat and have it go back to DRC,
Would that be
we'll try
considered a
to
local
widen out.
then? The 26
Sir,
to 26? The 26 to 26, is that considered a local size?
It's the same, considered local, just like what we have right there now. It's just a little less expensive. I mean, it's not, I don't think you would really know driving down one street from the other, but on this project, it's about $150,000 difference, which we're just trying to figure out how to save anything we can on this.
The existing local road designation gives a little bit of leeway there. It actually uses the word or. It'll say 22 or 24 or, you know, whatever. So it's built into the code. That's why I've got no issue with it. The issue that we talked about earlier was just from a fire code standpoint. You start messing with the roads, and we just need to make sure that we still meet those fire code standards.
Yeah.
So that was.
Would we meet them if we went from 28 to 26?
That's what I just want to confirm.
You should.
Yeah.
But you're still
I think I
going,
was just talking asphalt.
still have to have
Maybe he was talking about curb to curb numbers.
Right.
Ultimately, that designation can just fluctuate by 2 feet, and then the green space can fluctuate 5 foot each.
Because you're going to have sidewalks anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Right. And so it's just a decision of whether it goes from 6 to 7, and then just making sure, I just wanted to verify that we have all the fire code stuff handled if we go that route.
But the question was about making it corner, right?
a collector.
Collector.
Correct. There's the collector issue at the bottom. But I believe the local street and the sizing of it is an issue, is a topic for the entire subdivision.
Right.
So those are, to be clear, those are two separate things.
So I have a concern for danger of sounding like a broken record. We continue to consider dismantling the master street plan bit by bit by bit. We're making permanent decisions that, you know, we may regret in the future if not well thought out. I mean, my own neighborhood has a horrendous error in it, right there where the fountain used to be. So, you know, we do need east-west connectivity in the city, in more than this one location. So just continue to give up the master street plan that so many people had invested interest in.
Right.
But as far as connectivity, I mean, if you get it to connect through, does it matter if it's a larger, I mean, does it have to be a collector? And I agree with Jonathan on all those driveways. I don't mind somebody driving through my neighborhood, I just don't want an interstate in my front yard.
You go down that small street to the left and, you know, that'll kill all the traffic there for sure.
But I mean, I think you find a way to connect it through by losing that lot.
I think you lose that bottom lot. What is it, lot, what lot number is that? Go back up to that.
36,
You and I talked about that.
But I mean, the difference in driving through that neighborhood, going to collector to a local, is just making it where they're gonna go faster by making it.
Where's that?
This one.
Where's the road end at? The road ends right here.
Right.
If
So
you lose this
31.
lot and dedicated it to where someday it would connect to that gives three.
Just give the right of way, exactly.
And then that gives you the ability to come down this road and just go right through here and not have to turn down that little narrow street.
Yeah.
I'm also concerned about all this traffic
Yeah.
going out on that little street.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you had a connectivity there at some point. I'm like, yeah, I don't think I mean, as long as I can get through.
As long as you get the connection,
You know, you're gonna come to a subdivision.
you'd want.
It's better than it is now.
What's
Yeah,
the plan
you
to
want
think
for
about
sure.
that?
About what?
Yeah, Terry, let's hear from you.
The
Collector versus.
The local versus and collector.
Taking
I
that
think-
lot out.
I mean, I think that you have to get through there. To me, that's not an if or an and. I think you've got to do that. I think just talking about getting traffic through there, if you looked at that other subdivision that it's dumping out in there, I hate to even think about our fire trucks trying to access there. If there was an emergency, the front of that subdivision is non-accessible, you have to go through there, that is going to be an issue. You know, right now, there's obviously their development does not affect that subdivision. So not saying any improvements there are happening, but I think for that to be the long-term plan, and dumping all that traffic there, you can't tell me if you're not gonna live on that side of the subdivision and you wanna go to the interstate, but you're not gonna come down and hit Parkway and then get on to the interstate there.
So you don't think, not taking that lot away will be helpful or not helpful?
Yes.
Well, it won't be helpful
You do.
now because there's no connectivity still.
Right.
But at some point, there
Yeah.
might be connectivity.
But you think that'd be okay then?
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
I think the whole plan of it is the whole plan of the plan is to plan, right? So we're trying to get to this point where connectivity can be
That way we could have a local connector.
Yeah, and if you can't get to, you know, if it gets removed here, or even downgraded to a certain point, then the rest of that road changes. And I think Parkway is going to be a major connection through our town.
I agree.
think at some point, even as we go further north, this is gonna be a major, people will go to Parkway to get across our community. I mean, it goes when we finish it, we'll go all the way to the airport. It is gonna be one of our major, if not our major corridor next to the highways. So I just think connectivity to it is really important because that's where people are gonna go places.
But what Rick's saying and Jonathan, that little triangle would take care of a lot of this?
Well, in the future, it would.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about today.
Yeah, well, it would help. I mean, it gives another exit for the subdivision, for the house, and it gives a connectivity, you know.
Could you expand that out, what we're looking at, connect to Bryant Parkway and stuff, please?
I think that's
So the fire trucks could get through that?
Yes, sir.
They
Yes,
could,
sir.
okay.
I thought we needed to verify that though.
Yeah, so they have to have 26-foot minimum around the fire hydrant, and if you make the whole road that's right. You can have 20-feet roads as long as you have 26 around the fire hydrant.
Right now,
Turning radius would be.
go that way just a
But
little
you
bit.
gotta verify that.
Right now, his
The-
subdivision is entering right here, and it's exiting right there. And the proposal was to make another point of entry exit right here.
Right.
Which would allow you to come down this road, up through here, and over to here.
But Trick, if they lose the lot or readjust it, give the right of way.
Yeah.
You do a local street, there's a private road there.
Right.
That dumps out into a public road.
Right.
I mean, if the city, we used to do this, and we probably still do, but if we got that private road turned into right of way,
Right.
you get it ready, there are grants out there
Yeah.
that'll complete that connection for you.
Yeah.
You just have to have it, you have to own the right of way and be ready for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I think the plan would be, it's what developing is you tee it up with the 60-foot, or whatever it is, to be the right of way to go from his subdivision to that private road area, and then just plan on getting the rest of the right of way.
Right, I describe it all the time as a jigsaw puzzle,
Yeah,
right? Like you gotta get one piece at a time, but of course, if you don't get one piece of the puzzle, you can't finish
That's
your
it.
puzzle.
So are you talking, Lance, where are you talking about the private
well,
road?
where the 4 property owners are, that they don't own the property.
Right,
I mean, they're gonna come in at some point and rebuild or pull a permit or redevelop, or we just go
Ask them.
buy the right of way from them,
Yep.
right, or get them to dedicate it, and then, once you have it, and we have areas all over town that we've done that we've connected with right of ways that we acquired through this same mechanism. I think it has to connect there, Jonathan,
I think we give up that lot, and I think that makes sense.
but I think when we took it off the master street plan in Hastings, Jim Hastings development, it was always, that was gonna connect Highway 5, it was gonna be I hate to say interstate, but it was gonna be a thoroughfare through there. Well, it's not gonna be a thoroughfare anymore with driveways facing that road. So it's gonna be a connection road.
yeah. I think my counter to that is that you're still dealing with two arterials on either side of the Parkway arterial and the Midland arterial. You look at all the houses that are being built over there right now, I still think you're gonna see quite a bit of traffic going through there.
You think it should stay a collector, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yes.
Jonathan, I'm sure I know you put this together like a puzzle. Did you try other configurations and try to make this work?
This
Or
is
did
about
you
as
just?
good as I can make it work, honestly. Giving up 5 feet on each side, if we do, if we have to, we have to. I mean, I think that's what you're saying. We need to give up the 5 feet of right of way.
Yeah, make it to match the plan.
Okay.
But you want the road built to match the plan?
No, sir, I was just recommending the right of way.
So you're not talking about building the collector, you're just talking about getting
The right of way to the collector.
With the same plat?
So we would have to go back to DRC to tweak this, for sure.
Will your lots conform to the?
I might need a few variants.
It gets back to the land, it just.
It's just, I mean,
There's only,
Hey,
I get
that's
it too.
okay.
There's only so much land you got out there, and you got all this, you gotta be able to fit it somewhere.
And if you don't figure out how to put the puzzle together, the developer walks and you don't get a road.
You don't get a puzzle at all, you don't get the house, you don't get the road. Yes, sir.
Jonathan, what we need a way to just bring that road along the bottom of the property line?
That's what I was gonna
south
ask
side, and try to somehow, I know,
Financially, I can't.
because you've got to have a certain number of lots,
Right, that
give or
lot,
take,
the lot price just goes up exponentially when you only have lots on one side of the road.
one side of the road instead of the other.
Lance, if you were as a developer, what would you do to get this resolved?
Well, I like the idea of building a local street, getting the right of way for the collector, if he can make it work. I mean, even if the right of way is diminished by 1 foot, I mean, if you have to compromise, but you get 99% of it, and he gives up the lot, then you get the connection point. I mean, you're not gonna get in that, I don't mean in that area, you're not gonna get any better than that.
So is it 26 or 28 foot, if it's what you said?
So
we would propose to go.
what's the difference in, well, I was taught, what's the back of curve on a local street?
Yeah, I think with the local street, maybe simplify that. I think we can take care of that as a staff issue of whether they can, because really they can pick either one. It's in the code.
Okay.
So like, they can pick any of that and it's fine.
As long as fire department, okay. So
What I was talking different, Joe, what's the right of way on a collector?
60.
Let's say to make all of his lots work on both sides of the road, he has to have 59.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you can still get a collector in the 59, you're just gonna squeeze a few things and
Yeah.
lose a little green space. But the alternative is, it doesn't work, there's no more land there to make it work, and they go away and you don't get anything.
Don't get anything out of it at all.
And I don't think we can determine that until he does his plat,
Yeah.
and you gotta know this week.
I know it's closing this week, so. And my wife's the realtor, so that's no pressure.
There's a conflict there.
I just want to make it work if we can, but we need east and west.
I think all we, which he's asking for preliminary plat approvals, there's gonna have a million contingencies, but, I mean, you have to give the lot,
Understood.
give up the lot. You have to give the right of way, let's just say,
put the plat back up there, Colton.
to meet the 60.
Right.
Good. Ricky, you'll go back up there and show.
Can you give up lot 31? Is that 31?
Yes.
Can you give up 31 and meet the, if you just gave up 31 as is, would
Right.
it meet the requirement to collect, to bring in that
I think
road?
we're at like, I think the front curve of that's like around 55.
So you might have to push a little off the other side.
You zoom in just a little bit more there. C11, if you go down to this table down below, C11 will, this way just a little bit. So C11 is 54 wide, so we're not quite 60, but we're close.
So you wouldn't have to build it, would he? You could just leave it a vacant lot for now.
It'd be right of way on the
And
plat.
you just have to mow it and
Right.
kids could play in it.
I
There's
think that's a
there's
good.
lot of subdivisions that have a stub out, but like that.
Yeah, it would be like
shows where the
a
right of
future
way.
stub out where
Yeah.
you could connect.
Yeah.
Would the subdivision work that way, though?
That would give you,
I think that's a good agreement there for both parties.
I mean, that gives the subdivision that gives 3 in and outs for the subdivision, which that's a lot of houses. So that would be really good, I think,
So-
eventually.
When we go back to DRC, we can figure out.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How much asphalt.
Yes, sir. That's right.
Are you okay if this is Pruitt?
So the right of way is okay on the road going east and west?
Not today.
That's what I was gonna say, how much right of way do you have that drawn at?
50, so we'll have to give up 5 on each side, so that's what.
Is it gonna affect the setbacks and the?
Drew, do we have the right of way going down that road?
All these
Past
lots
that,
here,
all the way back to
Well, that's,
Hilldale?
majority of that's not in the city.
What's the setbacks on those, Jonathan?
those are 20,
All of that's not in the city.
and they're
Okay, so
6,000 square foot
wouldn't be
lots, which
collected.
is your minimum.
Yeah,
So
so
it's gonna eat
whatever.
into everything.
The
It's
county
gonna-
got it.
Unless we annex.
Wait a minute. Go ahead, Jonathan, or somebody, don't both go.
So when we change, when we make this adjustment, like 119, 118, 117, 116, all the way through there, you'll notice the square footage is almost on all of them is at your exact minimum on this. So what would be your temperature on if we get this approved tonight with these comments? Me coming back next month, instead of asking for variances on all this stuff, I just bring this back as a PUD and we tweak this stuff and just get it approved without variances, just as a neighborhood.
Still have to have a public hearing on the PUD.
You would. And something, when we talked earlier, I didn't realize how, you've got those green space tracks. So you probably need,
Right.
That was my question.
I've not done the calculations at all, but I would assume you'd be pretty close to meeting those requirements, which is usually somewhat of a hurdle for a PUD.
Yeah.
Right.
Then you don't need any variances, you just do it
Yeah.
all.
I don't ask for any more
That would be
variances.
awesome.
Right.
Does if we do this tonight, does it still go to the city council?
No.
Because he's not.
It's not in the city.
It's not. Yeah, it's not a zoning. So if it was the reason why PUD would is
I thought a
because,
modification from the master street plan, but this wouldn't be a modification.
No.
no.
It'd just be the location would modify.
Well, the locations,
flexible?
Yeah, flexible.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
a
So
brush.
it's just the connectivity.
And we're getting a right of way.
Yeah.
It would,
Yeah.
I think if it's going away completely, that's when it goes to council.
Right, if we made it a local,
Yeah,
but if we have the easements and we make lot 31 into future connectivity.
Yeah.
So Jonathan, what would you wanna do? Pete, go back, withdraw this and do a PUD, or how do you wanna
I
work?
think we need to get it approved tonight with the comments that we've made. And then I can reevaluate once I actually look at it with DRC. But I mean, I'm not against coming back, and if we have issues, just going the PUD route. But I think we just need to go ahead and get it across the finish line for now.
Financially, it might be better to go with a
I
PUD
think it might.
for the developer.
So the contingencies are 60-foot right of way to connect in the southwest corner. All the right of way on, what's the name of that?
31?
From 31 east
Okay.
Whatever that street.
to get it to a collector, all the way to the entry point.
yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Everything
Sounds
else
good.
is. And we realize you may be coming back because those lots aren't probably gonna work with a PUD, but if it works, then you've
Right, we're done.
got your, okay.
That's great.
Good job.
Everybody understand?
Yep.
We're good? Okay, we're gonna vote with that
One in a
contingency.
row. Okay.
Okay.
Who?
Yes.
Penfield,
Yes.
Staton,
Yes.
Irwin,
Yes.
Burgess,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Well, then you're a court job.
Thank you.
Way to work together.
You know, it's all about negotiations.
Appreciate you guys.
Yes.
We just need to get, you know, let's,
Motion to adjourn.
now, it's gonna be pre-annexation, right? That they build it, it's gonna be
It's
annexed.
pre-annex, about pre-annex.
So on the,
You can't say that.
Good job, Walter.
All in favor of adjourning?
Jenny, yeah.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
Good job, Rick.
Already got
Rick,
mine.
you did a good job tonight.